Hurricane Lala, still a major hurricane. So Hurricane Lala is a major hurricane still, with a position of 22.2 degrees north and 171.0 degrees west. The storm is currently heading northwest as we are speaking at 9 miles per hour with a degrees of 315. The storm's intensity is 150 miles per hour and 958 millibars in pressure. This is the latest at Honolulu at 2 p.m. Hawaiian Standard Time, which is 0Z in UTC. So the wind fields of the storm look like this: 100 nautical miles to the northeast, 135 nautical miles to the southeast, 120 nautical miles to the southwest, and 180 nautical miles to the northwest. The distances in kilometers are like this: 361 from Maro Reef, 919 from Midway Atoll, 2,300 from Wake Island, and 2,615 from Rongelap Atoll. And distances in miles are 224 from Maro Reef, 571 from Midway Atoll, 1,429 from Wake Island, and 1,625 from Rongelap Atoll. So then there are tropical storm and hurricane warnings in effect for the Papahanaumoku Ukea Marine National Monument east of Maro Reef to the French Frigate Shoals, with the Papahanaumoku Ukea Marine National Monument from Lisianki to Island to Maro Reef. These are all of the current watches and warnings in effect for the storm as it continues to head northwest, more north, and it will pass directly through the Maro Reef Islands. The main hazard is damaging winds. Damaging winds is the primary hazard for major hurricane Lala. Local areas which include the islands of Lisianki, French Frigate Shoals, and the Maro Reef. Damaging winds will be expected in the areas that are currently underneath the hurricane warning. So, damaging winds are the primary hazard for major hurricane Lala. So, the NHC forecast cone coming up looks like this. As you can see, it weakens down into a hurricane as it approaches the Maro Reef Islands, and it continues as a hurricane, slowly decreasing intensity before then becoming a tropical storm on Monday. It moves relatively slowly as it heads further north, but as you can see, it remains a major hurricane up until Thursday, when it then drops down into normal hurricane status. And you can see the warnings on there, the red being the hurricane and the blue being the tropical storm. Here's the sea surface temperatures, which are a lot more favourable than they were before when we last updated. The orange and yellow zones are between 28 and 26, and of course the green zones are lower down. So it's relatively good. It is heading north though, and it does reach that patch of green, as you can see above. So it will eventually reach colder waters, which will not help the storm's development. The cone forecast, of course, it decreasing in intensity, and the sea surface temperatures support that. The RAM B multimodal diagnostic comparison looks like this, and you can see the trend that the storm does decrease, and it actually increases intensity very slightly, but the trend is relatively similar. The deep layer shear is also quite similar. There is a few spikes in there here and there, but it does decrease and increase and then gradually decreases after that, and the track is very, very consistent. The HFSB model has a slightly curving more west, however most models have the track curving towards the north. The precipitation forecast for the storm looks like this. Ignore the system to the right, that is not major hurricane Lala. It is the top left precipitation chart that you can see, not chart, the storm that you can see up there. It does get into the yellow zones there, which you can see on the right is between 16 and 24 in the center of the storm. And the simulation forecast looks like this. As you can see, it really gains a lot of size as it decreases there. As you can see, the eyes, well, breaking up there as it decreases, as it heads further north and eventually travels more west there. You can definitely see the storm losing intensity as it continues to head further north into those colder waters. The ocean heat content doesn't look very good for the storm. It's currently in an area between 15 and 35, but then does drop into the 0 and 15 zone before then dropping into a not registered zone for the ocean heat content. So once again, that is also not favourable for the storm's development in any stretch of the imagination. Now for the remainder of the update, we will play out satellite imagery, which will showcase the storm in various imagery such as visible. We'll also showcase OTT infrared, water vapor, AZN, ZEHR, and true color as well at the end.